3 essential vitamins for energy, performance, and vitality. What if I told you the reason your erections are weaker, your energy feels drained, and your drive seems to have vanished isn't age at all? The truth is, thousands of men over 60 are being quietly sabotaged by something far simpler and far more fixable than most doctors ever admit. Not low desire, not an inevitable decline, but a silent deficiency in 3 vitamins your body once had in abundance, the very nutrients that fuel blood flow, stamina, and testosterone. I'm Dr. David, chairman of Urology at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York. Over the past 30 years, I've performed more than 7,000 robotic prostate surgeries and sat with countless men who thought their masculinity was gone forever. Yet, time and again, I've seen how the right natural support can flip the switch back on restoring confidence, intimacy, and vitality. And today, I'm going to share with you the 3 essential vitamins every man over 60 must know about if he wants to feel truly alive again. But beware, there's one deadly mistake that cancels out their benefits, and chances are you're making it right now. Before we dive in, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell, and comment on your biggest struggle. I read and reply to as many as I can. Number 1. Vitamin D, the circulation spark plug. When most men over 60 begin to notice weaker erections, low energy, or a fading sense of vitality, they often assume it is simply age catching up with them. The truth, however, is that in many cases the problem is not age itself, but a hidden deficiency in a nutrient that once flowed easily through their bodies. That nutrient is vitamin D. You may have heard it called the sunshine vitamin, but for men in their later years, I prefer to call it the circulation spark plug. Because without it, the very system that moves blood through your body begins to stall. Let me share a story that illustrates just how powerful this vitamin can be. Harold, a retired school teacher, came to see me at 69 years old. He had been married for more than 4 decades and loved his wife dearly. Yet he confessed in a quiet voice that he could no longer perform the way he once did. He wasn't overweight, he tried to stay active, and he wasn't on any major medications, but his confidence had drained away. His wife thought he was losing interest, when in reality, he still wanted intimacy, but his body refused to cooperate. We ran a series of tests, and while his testosterone was slightly low, it wasn't enough to explain the problem. His heart and cholesterol looked fine. What stood out was his vitamin D level. It was less than half of what it should have been. I explained that vitamin D does far more than keep bones strong. It directly influences nitric oxide, a chemical messenger that tells blood vessels to relax and expand. Without that signal, circulation slows, oxygen delivery weakens, and erections suffer. In Harold's case, his body was running without a spark plug and the engine was stalling. We created a simple plan. He began taking short walks in the early morning sun, eating salmon and sardines twice a week, and supplementing with vitamin D3 rather than the cheaper but less effective D2. Within 3 months, he returned to my office looking like a different man. He carried himself taller, spoke with more energy, and admitted, with a shy smile, that his wife told him she felt like she had her husband back. Nothing in his marriage had changed except his vitamin D levels. So why does this happen to so many men as we age? The skin produces less vitamin D from sunlight, and the kidneys become less efficient at activating it. On top of that, many older adults spend more time indoors, cover up when they go outside, or live in climates with long winters. The result is that by the time a man reaches his 60s, there is a very high chance he is running with a deficiency that affects not just his bones, but his heart, his energy, and his performance in the bedroom. Research from the National Institutes of Health shows that more than 40% of older adults have insufficient vitamin D, and the numbers are even higher in men over 65. This deficiency shows up in several ways, beyond circulation and erections. Low vitamin D is linked to fatigue, muscle weakness, low mood, and even higher risks of heart disease. Harvard studies have connected optimal vitamin D levels with stronger cardiovascular health. And since the blood vessels of the heart and the penis are intimately related, it is no surprise that problems in one area often signal problems in the other. Now, here are the most common mistakes I see men making. The first is choosing the wrong form of vitamin D. Many cheap supplements on the market use vitamin D2, which is poorly absorbed and far less effective. What you need is vitamin D3, ideally paired with vitamin K2, which helps calcium go into the bones where it belongs rather than clogging your arteries. The second mistake is inconsistency. Taking a capsule here and there, skipping days, or doubling up after forgetting will not give your body the steady supply it needs. The third mistake is believing diet alone is enough, while fish, eggs, and fortified milk do contain vitamin D. You would need to eat these foods every single day to make a real impact, and even then, absorption declines with age. Finally, men often forget that vitamin D is fat-soluble, which means taking it on an empty stomach with a glass of water will waste much of it. Pair it with a meal containing healthy fats, like eggs, avocado, or olive oil, and absorption rises dramatically. So, how should you approach it? First, get tested. A simple blood test will tell you where you stand. Aim for levels between 30 and 50 nanograms per milliliter. If your level is under 20, you are deficient and will benefit from more aggressive correction. Second, expose your skin to the sun for 15 to 20 minutes in the morning whenever possible. The gentle light before 10 o'clock is enough to activate production without burning. Third, incorporate dietary sources like fatty fish, egg yolks, or fortified dairy. And finally, supplement smartly with vitamin D3. For most men, 1 to 2,000 international units daily is safe and effective, but if you are severely deficient, your doctor may recommend higher doses for a period of time. When Harold corrected his deficiency, his blood vessels began to relax, circulation improved, and his sense of vitality returned. He discovered that what he thought was permanent decline was in fact reversible. This is a lesson I want every man over 60 to hear. You are not broken. Your body still remembers how to respond, and often it is only waiting for you to provide the missing fuel. Vitamin D is not simply about strong bones, it is about circulation, testosterone, stamina, and emotional well-being. If you are struggling with fatigue, low mood, or weaker erections, do not ignore the possibility that your body is starving for this nutrient. Get your levels checked, make the simple changes I have outlined, and stay consistent because, like Harold, you may discover that your spark has not been lost, it has only been waiting to be reignited. Number 2. Vitamin B12, the energy generator. When a man reaches his 60s, he often notices that his body does not recover as quickly as it once did. The mornings feel heavier, the afternoons seem longer, and even after a full night of sleep, he may still wake up tired. Many men assume this is just what it means to grow old, but often, the real issue is a deficiency in vitamin B12, the nutrient that turns the food we eat into usable fuel for the body and the brain. Let me share the story of Leonard, a 72-year-old retired firefighter. Leonard was tough, disciplined, and had always been full of energy. But when he came to see me, he confessed that he felt exhausted all the time. He could fall asleep easily, but no matter how much he rested, the fatigue never left him. His wife worried he was depressed, but he insisted he still wanted to live fully, he just didn't have the energy to do it. We ran tests, and the answer became clear. His vitamin B12 levels were dangerously low. This wasn't because he ate poorly, in fact. Leonard enjoyed steak and eggs regularly. The real problem was absorption. After 60, the stomach produces less acid, and without enough acid, vitamin B12 from food cannot be properly released and absorbed. So even though he was eating all the right foods, his body simply could not capture the vitamins it needed. I started Leonard on high-quality B12 supplements in the active form known as methylcobalamin. Within a few weeks, his energy began to rise. A few months later, he returned to my office with a grin, telling me he was back to walking several miles a day and even hiking with his grandchildren. His brain fog had lifted, his stamina was back, and his wife said she finally recognized her husband again. That is the quiet power of vitamin B12. Scientifically, here's what it does. B12 helps your body produce red blood cells, which are the vehicles that carry oxygen to every tissue, from your muscles to your brain to your sexual organs. Without enough B12, your red blood cells shrink and weaken, leaving you fatigued, dizzy, and sometimes even short of breath. It also plays a vital role in nerve health, which is why low B12 can lead to tingling in the hands and feet or memory problems for men over 60. This deficiency can feel like the body is running on half an engine. Unfortunately, many men make the same mistakes Leonard made before he came to see me. They assume that because they eat meat or eggs, their B12 levels must be fine. In reality, even the best diet may not be enough once absorption declines. Others buy cheap supplements that use cyanocobalamin, a synthetic form that is harder for the body to use. And worst of all, many men simply ignore their fatigue, chalking it up to aging, when in fact it may be a fixable nutrient problem. The solution is straightforward. Ask your doctor for a simple blood test if your B12 is low. Begin supplementation with methylcobalamin or adenosylcobalamin forms that your body can actually use. In severe cases, B12 injections can deliver the vitamin directly into your system and bypass the digestive tract altogether. And be consistent, like vitamin D. Your body thrives on rhythm, and daily intake makes the difference between continued fatigue and renewed vitality. Leonard discovered that his exhaustion was not a sign that life was closing down, but a sign that his body was starved for fuel. Once that fuel returned, so did his energy, his confidence, and his joy in daily living. So if you are a man over 60 and you feel drained no matter how much you sleep, do not assume it is simply age. Ask yourself whether your body is running on empty, and consider that vitamin B12 may be the missing generator that can bring your energy back to life. Number 3. Vitamin E, the fertility defender. By the time most men reach their 60s, they have heard of vitamin D for bones and vitamin B12 for energy. But very few realize the importance of vitamin E, a nutrient that quietly protects blood vessels, supports testosterone, and defends fertility for men over 60. Vitamin E can be the difference between feeling drained and vulnerable, or feeling strong, vital, and capable. Let me introduce you to Charles, a 70-year-old retired airline pilot. Charles was disciplined with his health. He ate clean, exercised regularly, and kept his weight in check. Yet, despite all his effort, he came to me and said, "Doctor, I don't feel like myself anymore. My strength is fading, and my drive, it's almost gone." He wasn't depressed, but he was frustrated. We examined his diet and blood work, and the problem revealed itself. Charles was getting almost no vitamin E once he began eating almonds, sunflower seeds, and spinach regularly, and added a high-quality natural vitamin E supplement. The changes were remarkable. Within a couple of months, he reported feeling sharper, stronger, and more engaged in his marriage again. His wife even noticed his mood was lighter, and his energy more youthful. So what makes vitamin E so important for men? The answer is oxidative stress. Think of oxidative stress as rust forming inside your body. It damages blood vessels, weakens testosterone-producing cells, and accelerates the aging process. Vitamin E acts as an antioxidant, protecting your body from that internal rust. For men, this means stronger circulation, better protection of testosterone, and healthier reproductive function. Studies have shown that vitamin E helps maintain the flexibility of blood vessels, ensuring that blood can flow freely where it is needed. It also safeguards sperm health and hormone balance, which explains why it is sometimes called the fertility vitamin. And just like vitamin D and B12 deficiency becomes more common with age, especially if the diet lacks nuts, seeds, and green vegetables. The mistakes many men make are simple but costly. Some assume vitamin E is only for skin health, since that is how it is often marketed. Others rely on cheap synthetic supplements that contain only one form of vitamin E, called alpha-tocopherol, while ignoring the full family of tocopherols and tocotrienols that the body actually needs. And many men simply overlook it altogether, leaving their blood vessels and hormones unprotected. The fix, however, is straightforward. Include foods rich in vitamin E in your daily diet. A handful of almonds, a spoonful of sunflower seeds, or a salad with spinach and olive oil can provide a strong foundation if you choose to supplement. Look for a natural product with mixed tocopherols rather than a single synthetic form. And, as with all nutrients, consistency is key. Charles's story shows how quickly life can change when this missing piece is restored. He went from believing his best years were behind him to discovering that vitality was still available, it was simply waiting to be defended. So remember this. Vitamin E is not just about skin or beauty. For men over 60, it is a defender of blood flow, testosterone, and fertility itself. If you want to protect your masculinity, support your circulation, and feel engaged with life again, do not ignore this essential nutrient. Why these three work better together. The vitality triangle. When we look at health, we often focus on single nutrients in isolation. Doctors prescribe vitamin D for bones, B12 for energy, or vitamin E for antioxidants, as if each operates in its own corner of the body. But the truth is, your body doesn't work in pieces. It works as a system, and that system thrives when nutrients are allowed to support one another. That is why vitamin D, vitamin B12, and vitamin E are so powerful when combined. Alone, they each provide benefits. Together, they create a foundation I call the vitality triangle. Let me share the story of George. A 68-year-old retired engineer, George was methodical, the type of man who liked to solve problems step by step. He had been dealing with fatigue and weaker erections, so he began experimenting. First, he tried vitamin D. After a couple of months, he noticed some improvement in mood, but his energy still lagged. Then he added B12. His energy picked up slightly, but circulation and intimacy remained a struggle. Finally, he read about vitamin E and began including nuts, seeds, and spinach in his diet, while also adding a mixed tocopherol supplement. It wasn't until all three were present together that George described what happened next. He said, "Doctor, it feels like someone put a new engine in me. Not only do I have energy again, but my mind is clear, and my body actually responds." His wife noticed the difference. His sleep improved, and he started gardening again, something he hadn't done in years. So, what exactly is happening inside the body when these three nutrients work in concert first? Vitamin D serves as the circulation spark plug by increasing nitric oxide. It tells blood vessels to open and allow oxygen and nutrients to flow freely. This sets the stage. Circulation is the foundation of vitality. Second, vitamin B12 enters as the energy generator. Once vitamin D has opened the pipes, B12 fills those vessels with oxygen-rich red blood cells, energy surges, muscles recover more quickly, and the brain begins to operate at full power. Without B12, the pipes may be open, but they are empty. Finally, vitamin E plays the role of fertility defender. As blood flows and energy rises, oxidative stress also increases. Imagine sparks flying off an engine when it runs at high speed. Without protection, those sparks can damage the system. Vitamin E is the shield that prevents this rust from forming inside your blood vessels and hormone centers. It guards testosterone, maintains flexibility in the arteries, and ensures that the gains from vitamin D and B12 are not undone. This synergy explains why men like George, who only improved moderately with one nutrient, often experience transformation when all three are taken together. The system needs a spark, it needs fuel, and it needs protection. Remove any corner of the triangle, and the structure weakens. Keep all three in place, and vitality is restored. Unfortunately, many men make the mistake of trying one nutrient in isolation, declaring it ineffective, and giving up. But as I explain to my patients, a single spark plug does not run a car, and fuel without a battery does not power an engine. The body, like any machine, needs multiple parts working together. The science supports this as well. Studies on vitamin D show improvements in circulation, but when combined with B vitamins, particularly B12, the benefits to cardiovascular health are amplified. Research on antioxidants like vitamin E shows protection of testosterone and sperm quality, but when combined with strong circulation and oxygen delivery, the improvements in performance are far more noticeable. These nutrients don't just add to each other, they multiply. The key, however, is quality and consistency. George's breakthrough didn't happen overnight. He gave his body 90 days of steady, daily intake, and that rhythm allowed his system to stabilize. If he had skipped days or relied on cheap synthetic supplements, his story would likely have been very different. This is why I emphasize the importance of creating a daily routine. Morning sun for vitamin D, a supplement with breakfast to ensure absorption, a methylcobalamin B12 capsule with a protein-rich meal, and vitamin E from almonds, sunflower seeds, or a natural supplement later in the day. Each nutrient becomes a piece of a larger system, reinforcing the others and creating a cycle of renewal. George later told me something that stayed with me. He said, "Doctor, I didn't realize how many years I had accepted feeling half alive. Now I wake up with energy, I laugh more with my wife, and I actually look forward to my day. That is the quiet revolution that happens when these three vitamins are restored together. Alone, they are helpful. Together, they bring a man back to life. So remember this. The vitality triangle is not just theory. It is the lived experience of men who refuse to settle for decline. If you want circulation, stamina, and masculinity to remain strong, do not treat these nutrients as isolated tools. Treat them as partners. Only when the spark, the fuel, and the shield are all in place does the engine of vitality truly run. As we bring this journey to a close, I want you to remember one simple truth. Decline is not destiny. Too many men over 60 are told that fatigue, weaker erections, or fading drive are just part of getting old. But what we have seen today is that much of this so-called aging is actually the result of silent deficiencies that can be corrected. Vitamin D acts as the spark plug that opens your blood vessels and restores circulation. Vitamin B12 fuels your system with oxygen and energy, clearing brain fog and lifting stamina. Vitamin E protects your blood vessels and hormones from the rust of oxidative stress, preserving testosterone and guarding fertility. Alone, each of these nutrients matters, but together, they form the vitality triangle, a system of spark, fuel, and defense that allows the body to run as it was meant to. Men like Harold, Leonard, Charles, and George are living proof that transformation is possible. They were not broken, only depleted, and once they restored what their bodies were missing, they rediscovered energy, intimacy, and confidence they thought had slipped away forever. So here is my challenge to you. Do not wait. Ask your doctor to check your levels. Create a simple daily routine. Give your body 90 days of steady care and see how it responds. Because your best years are not behind you. They are waiting to be lived fully, with strength, with passion, and with vitality.